Hey guys, it's Jesse with Comfypong here, and I just wanted to make a video tutorial on how to get to the moon and back for anyone who's having trouble. This is going to be done by following a few simple steps, 10, each of which I'll go over in detail throughout the duration of this video. All the steps in order are to 1. Launch a stable vehicle, 2. Get into orbit, 3. Correct orbital inclination, 4. Kerbal escape burn, 5. Munar insertion burn, 6. Munar deorbital burn, 7. Landing, 8. Launch and reorbit, 9. Munar escape burn, and 10. Re-entry on Kerbal. Without further ado, let's get started. Step 1. Launch a stable craft. As self-explanatory as that sounds, you'll have to be confident in the spacecraft's ability to get into orbit, usually by the first 2 stages, and understand that you'll need the upper stages with enough fuel to go to and from the target location. Step 2. Get into orbit. Know that for most spacecraft, the best way to get into orbit is to begin turning over slowly once you hit about 10,000 or 12,000 meters high, depending on the craft. Don't turn too quickly or slowly, but if you're having trouble maintaining control of the craft, then lower your throttle. Step 3. Correct your orbital inclination. Once you're in orbit, go to the map view and right-click on the moon. Select the Set as Target option, and the orbit of the moon should turn green. You should also see 2 dashed lines connecting the orbit of the moon's orbit to yours. Where these lines meet your orbit is where you have to burn. If you hover your mouse over it, you should see a number with a decimal. That is your inclination relative to the moon. To get to the moon, you'll want this number to be as close to 0 as possible. You can do so by burning your engines pointing upward if the number is positive, or burning downward if the number is negative. Step 4. Kerbal escape. It is now time to, more or less, point toward the moon and shoot, though it isn't quite that simple. Make a maneuver node in your orbit and use a prograde marker until your planned trajectory is in an encounter orbit with the moon. The node should be placed at about 120 degrees from the current position of the moon. Try to get the periapsis of the moon down to about 20,000 to 80,000 meters if you can, or lower. Step 5. Munar insertion burn. Now that your trajectory is going toward the moon, wait carefully until you are in the moon's influence. Once you are, simply burn retrograde to the direction of intended orbit, and do so while close to the periapse for the best result. Step 6. Munar deorbital burn. You are now in orbit around the moon and it's time to pick a landing area. Try to pick either the space between craters or the middle of a big crater for the flattest areas. Simply burn retrograde and watch your trajectory from orbit as you do. Step 7. Landing. You're on your way down towards the moon now, and it's probably the hardest part of the entire mission. To succeed, you'll want to point your ship directly between the retrograde marker and the horizon on the attitude ball, while trying not to be directly on either one. Burn at a safe rate, and as the retrograde marker begins to go vertical, chase it up until your craft is also perfectly vertical, and there's minimal lateral velocity. Then simply slow the craft down through descent, and try to land with a velocity of no more than 7.2 meters per second. Step 8. Launch and reorbit. Use whatever ascent stage is left and launch. Turn over for orbit about 1,000 to 3,000 meters depending on what part of the planetoid you're on, then achieve orbit around the moon once more. Step 9. Munar escape. Similarly to how you burned a trajectory to the moon, do so again to get home, only now you cannot select Kerbal as a target. When in doubt, burn retrograde to the orbit of the moon. If your periapsis is under 50,000 meters, or you're on a collision course for Kerbal, then you've done correctly. Step 10. Re-entry and landing. Now is the time that you hope you remember to put parachutes on your craft. Hey, thank you so much for watching, and feel free to check out any of our other Kerbal Space Program or Comfypong videos. Forgot I had a caps lock on. Whatever. Man, I'm fucking everything up, aren't I? This reflection in the song is really cool.